I'm very excited to introduce Caroline Sweeney. And Caroline Sweeney is both a Nuix customer and a friend. And a friend isn't always someone that says yes, but a friend is someone that helps you build a better product, helps you understand the environment. And Caroline, certainly since I've joined, we've had multiple conversations around how we as a software vendor can do better. And let me tell you, we can always do better, and there's lots that we can do better. But I'm super thankful to Caroline for honest and constructive feedback and support in this area. So thank you, Caroline. Caroline is the Director of Knowledge Management at Dorsey and Whitney, the fairly significant law firm in the US. As part of her knowledge management responsibilities, she oversees the firm's internal intranet, focused on connecting people to each other and to firm and knowledge resources. Her innovation responsibilities include implementation of technology tools to assist attorneys in efficient client service delivery and identifying solutions to support strategic initiatives of the firm. Caroline is a member of Dorsey's Electronic Discovery Practice Group and Cybersecurity, Privacy, and Social Media Practice Group. Her 25 plus years of experience in the litigation support industry include working in the law firm and litigation support vendor environments. I'm super thankful to Caroline, both for her involvement in helping us at Nuix build a better product and for her support. So I'd like to, super glad to have you here. And if you can just thank Caroline virtually for being here. Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that introduction, Jonathan. And I'm very excited. Thank you to Nuix for offering me the opportunity to participate in today's session. And I'm really looking forward to sharing with folks some of the ways that we leverage our Nuix Discover implementation. And at first I was worried, how am I going to talk for 40 minutes? And now I'm worried, I hope I don't have too much content because I have a lot I'd love to share. Next slide, please. So I thought it would be helpful to give you a little bit of background and insight into our implementation. We actually started with Nuix Discover back when it was Ringtail, and we had an on-premise implementation that was probably around 2008. And at that time, we were using a 10x, if you recall, a 10x through a provider to supplement and do like early data assessment and what have you, data some first pass review, and then we were bringing the results of that into the Ringtail platform. And we were thrilled when Ringtail and Atenix started their integration process. In 2014, well, then around 2008, we also started as a result of clients saying to us, hey, we're not going to pay to have associates do document review. The cost of e-discovery is exorbitant. We're going to hire contract attorneys. You can supervise them, but we got to find a better, more cost-effective way to do this. And so we actually developed a service offering, which we brand as Legal Mine. And that was really to provide e-discovery services, leveraging best-of-breed technology, dedicated staff, a secure environment, and efficient processes. So we then, around 2014, decided to make the move from from Ringtail on-premise to the SaaS environment. And we were actually the first client of Nuix's now, and I think certainly the first law firm client, but I think the first client to move to the cloud. And that wasn't a big stretch for us because we had been the first law firm to use NetDocuments, a cloud DMS environment. But the reason we wanted to make that move to cloud was that we were, as I said, really looking to have this state-of-the-art business, Legal Mine. And that means we have to be using current technology. And when we had it in-house and on-premise, it was sometimes very challenging for us to keep up with the evolution. You saw all the things David was talking about in terms of enhancements that are coming in the coming year. And if I'm, when I had the platform in-house, it was challenging for me to compete with other IT projects. And it was turning out that we were probably upgrading our ringtail environment every couple of years. And so we really wanted to have more consistent, more rapid ability to integrate enhancements into our workflows and into our processes. We also thought having it in the SaaS environment meant we were dealing with the experts, the people that understand the platform and can help us with troubleshooting, can help listen to what our frustrations or our concerns are in using different technology or with certain workflows, and help us to develop solutions. So the other thing that was informative for those of you that might still be thinking about this was when we really looked at the cost of supporting our implementation in the cloud environment versus on-premise. It was pretty much a wash, and probably more cost effective to have it in the cloud environment. So it in some ways it became kind of an easy decision to move to the cloud. I guess that's a long roundabout way of saying that I think one of the things that differentiates us as a law firm in terms of using Nuix Discover is that we have an entire service offering, a captive ALSAP built around the platform. And we've developed as a result some deep expertise in the platform. In a typical year, I gave you some statistics for the year end of 2022, we had over 36 terabytes of data in our environment, nearly 400 databases, over 200 users. In a typical year, we're probably processing around 13 terabytes of native ESI for various clients through the Nuix ingestions module, which is really a version of Nuix Workstation. So next slide. So that gives you a little bit of background on us and how we're using and how long we've been using the Nuix Discover platform. One thing that I do regularly with my team, probably every other year and probably not always to their great pleasure, is we look at evaluating the Nuix platform against some of the other technologies available in the market. And in some instances, we've even undertaken some small POCs just with our team and using some like Enron data to get an understanding of how other platforms work. And I see that as part of our due diligence in making sure that we are using the best of breed technology and that we know what other functionality is out there. And maybe we can say, hey, this would be nice to have. Let's talk to Nuix about that. One thing I find interesting, and like I said, we do this every couple years, and consistently, we're still Nuix Discover customers. We consistently have remained loyal to the Nuix Discover platform. A couple of weeks ago, I actually emailed my team and I did a little survey and I asked them, tell me what you think really sets Nuix apart when we're looking at these other platforms and what the benefits are to us for continuing to use this platform. And you can see some of the feedback in terms of the platform. I know we were talking about some improvements to the UI, but actually that was one of the things that my team came back with, that they thought that the interface really balances usability with handling complexity. And I've even had lateral attorneys say to me, I'm so glad you don't use the platform we had at our other firm. I found it really clunky, and some of the stuff that you guys are doing in Nuix is really cool. Another thing that we really do think sets Nuix apart are the analytic tools in CAL. We find them very easy to use, very adaptable to a variety of different use cases, and we use them widely. We have been able to educate our attorneys on the value of using CAL. We've used CAL to stop review when we know that the remainder of the population is likely to not be responsive. we have a workflow for addressing that and making a recommendation. We have, our attorneys will incorporate that into the use of CAL and the potential ability to stop review if the analytics tell us it's appropriate. They'll write that into the ESI protocols. Our clients like it because ultimately it can mean a cost savings to them. And it's really standard operating procedure for us to use these analytic tools to utilize CAL on any review, even if it just means we're using it to prioritize review. But I can't say enough good things about the analytic capabilities, and I am beyond excited to see where NLP is going to further enhance this function, these capabilities. Some of the other things that the team really liked was the ability to customize the Nuix experience. So you can customize templates, you can create standard templates and carry those over, customizing workflows, users customizing their views, being able to customize security so we can invite experts or co-counsel into a database and manage all of that on behalf of the legal team. It's really, I think, vital, the ability to customize, to being able to really respond in an agile manner to the needs of a given case or a given review team. And then as you can see from that last bullet point there in the Nuix platform column on the slide, everybody has their favorite functionality. Some people called out the review workflow, which is not something we often see in other platforms to the level of complexity that we can apply here. Our person that does archiving loves David mentioned the recent archiving capability. It's really simplified our archiving process. We've recently started using the case-to-case migration, which opens up a whole new opportunities for us around how to more effectively create EDA databases and then promote to review. So we've been very excited about that and how quickly and easy that has been to use. And then, as I've already mentioned, just the machine learning and the analytic functionality is something that in terms of the platform itself, we really appreciate. From a strategic business perspective, it's the partnership. I feel lucky, have a really good communication process with the Nuix team. We meet quarterly to talk about our business goals, to understand or hear about roadmap updates, to kind of make sure we're in alignment as far as that goes. We've had direct input into the Nuix roadmap, which I think is fabulous. That means they're listening to us and trying to respond to our needs. And I've even promised David a steak dinner when the native Excel redaction goes live. And then I think also our ability, and I'll talk about this a little bit more, our ability to leverage our firm's investment in Nuix Discover across our platform. So not just for e-discovery, not just for supporting kind of the trial side of the firm, but really more broadly than that. One other thing I would say Jonathan was touching on security, and a few others have as well. And I think this is another area where we've had a good partnership. Like many law firms, we have lots of clients that are coming to us and they're inquiring about our e-discovery, various tools and the security within our firm. And Nuix has been great in partnering with us to respond to some of those security questionnaires and having things like the FedRAMP certification and what have you really helps us in terms of being able to offer this at LegalMind and Nuix as a service offering to clients. So next slide. So in terms of how do we leverage Nuix on the e-discovery front, well, I guess I would say e-discovery and investigations are really our bread and butter. With investigations, we rely heavily upon the AI tools. The social network functionality is one that we've used. We even used social networking one time to help us identify foreign language content that there was a rare language, Mongolian actually, and the processing engine wasn't easily identifying Mongolian, and we were able to use social networking and CAL to find the Mongolian content in the collection. We've also used the social networking. We had an instance where someone came to us and said, or the investigating government agency came to the client and said they wanted more information about a particular player's role in the matter at hand. And we were able to then use social networking to find that person in the database, figure out who they were communicating with, look at things like the concept clouds and concept analysis to understand what they were communicating about. And very quickly, the client was very impressed, be able to come back with a summary of why they might be interested in this particular person. We have also used the social networking where we had a client that needed to respond or provide monthly to regulators kind of a communications log. And so we were able to upload email communications and chat communications and then use the platform to generate those logs for the client. Some of the other examples with how we've been deploying Nuix, we've been using it for several years with our trademark group to do watch notice reviews. And again, we're able to leverage the analytics and the machine learning over time to help us provide low cost, fixed fee service around trademark watch notice reviews and not have attorneys spending their time at, higher hourly rates doing that kind of work. Another thing that we've been, it seems really silly in some ways or minor, but it's been a huge hit, is utilizing machine translation beyond just the litigation context. So when we have contracts, we even have a client, she was in-house and she went externally to the client, and she still sends us contract documents to translate. But being able to, very easily use search file or upload a document that requires translation, essentially push the machine translate button and get that content out and exported and provided back to clients. People have been thrilled by that functionality. I think one of the things that we're looking forward to is being able to have some of those machine translations export not just as a field, but export into a text file, ideally maybe a formatted text file that can be used. In fact, I just had before I got on this call, I had somebody ask me about translating some marketing presentation materials to Japanese, and could we perhaps leverage Nuix to help with that? So another example of using the platform beyond just our litigation and investigations implementation. Another thing we've been doing, we have a contract analysis platform that we've brought in-house, but we've been using, and it has some deduplication functionality in the sense that it will identify duplicates, but it doesn't, in the e-discovery sense, deduplicate documents or make it easy for us to suppress those duplicates. And so what we'll do is we'll use the Nuix platform to kind of do that triage and then bring the content over to the contract AI analysis platform to locate particular clauses and extract those clauses. We have also used Nuix for some data breach reviews, and it's been more simplistic than I think what the upcoming capabilities will be once we've got more of the NLP functionality and what have you brought into the platform. But I'm also exploring, okay, how can we really leverage our implementation to kind of craft another service offering that our cyber security and social or cybersecurity group can offer to clients. So that I think will be a very exciting opportunity for us. But I also sit on the firm's cybersecurity committee, and one of the things we've been talking about is the fact that we still have data that lives out on file servers, and how can we start to do some data remediation around that? And again, is there an opportunity for us to leverage our current investment to support a strategic initiative of the firm when it comes to that data cleanup and what have you? So that's some ideas on how we've used the platform in the past. Next slide. So in terms of challenges, I'm sure these are challenges that a lot of you are facing as well. But the big one that jumps out at all of us, and a lot of what our folks, our conversation today has been focused around, is new and evolving data sources. You know, like everyone, we're dealing with this. We're making sure that we can collect and process and understand how best to unitize and review and produce documents that are coming from platforms like Slack and Teams and other proprietary tools. We've seen a lot of this in the past couple of years. I think, you know, COVID encouraging collaboration has led to, I think we all know, a widespread adoption of collaboration platforms, which has presented challenges to all of us. So that's one of the things that we continue to evaluate, we continue to look at, we continue to talk with Nuix about, and I believe there's some improvements coming around Slack, handling of Slack data, for example. Chat is something that, you know, way back when it used to be chat and text data, really. Let's not ask about phones, just like way back when it was, you know, let's not ask about email in the very early days of before e-discovery really blew up. And so we are seeing that very consistently on matters. And so again, looking forward to some of the enhancements that are coming, particularly around how do we unitize this data so it's easy to review, so that it's easy to redact. How do we, there are things about, and I think NLP will help with this, how do you apply search terms, which might be different because of how people talk in text or chat versus how they talk in an email. How do we handle things like emojis? We recently, over the course of the past year, had a matter where we had a client, they didn't do a lot of emailing. They mostly used a chat platform to communicate, and they were encouraged to communicate more via emoji than by using text in their chats. And so how do you, you know, download thousands of chats that are very emoji focused or emoji centric, I guess, and then figure out ways to call that, or do you have to review it all? And it presents a lot of challenges. The client was able to translate some of those emojis to terms, so, you know, smiley face instead of us having to look for the smiley faces. But still, it was challenging and time consuming. So looking forward to some of the enhancements that I think Nuix is working on in this area, but also it's something that we feel like we're dealing with increasingly. When it comes to machine translation, you know, I was talking about, we use this frequently, but the ability to be able to also then export the machine translations beyond just a a field or a text file for the document. And we actually had a requirement for production to a government agency at one point where we had to produce the translation as a family member to the original foreign language document. And that's a good example of our, I would say, our partnership with Nuix, because they helped us develop a process and a way to do that. But again, it's as we deal more and more with foreign language content, thinking about ways that we have to use that translation content or export it and what have you is important. We talk about new and evolving data sources. We're also starting to see more with like video and with audio as well. But the ability to redact video within a platform right now, that's kind of a cumbersome process for us. And that's something else that we're looking at, or we've talked to Nuix about, and we're looking forward to what's going to be coming with video capabilities in the platform. I think another challenge is around, and this is maybe less specific, but around early data assessment and really trying to encourage legal teams and clients sometimes too, to take the time upfront to really do early data assessment and to really leverage the tools that we have available to us to drive down our data populations. And I think we're getting much better with that. And I see that because you can see it in just the document reviews that we do, that we are seeing, you know, it's less common to see the millions of document reviews and more common to have more narrowly defined data sets, but really leveraging the early data assessment tools and then training people on it and encouraging them to take that time up front to save on the back end. And speaking of training, I think one of the big challenges we face is around training and adoption and education, and the fact that it's not like you do training and you're done, or you come in and you get the Nuix Discover 101, how to use the platform, and that's it. We are constantly doing training, constantly pushing adoption. We do weekly did you know, so that we remind people, hey, we'll talk amongst ourselves. We're seeing lots of requests for us to help people and print a PDF from the platform in chronological order. Maybe that warrants, in fact, it did warrant last week, did you know on how to print a PDF in chronological order without having to come to our team to help people be more self-service. So we do these weekly did you knows. We do monthly boot camps where we talk about things like the analytic tools and different places in the workflow that people can implement those to assist them in maybe identifying potential search terms, crafting search terms, and how best to whittle down their population. And we actually am getting ready in the next few weeks to do our annual new lawyer training. So training these new lawyers that have only been here a couple of months on how do you do quality control review? How do they set up a review protocol? How do they do early data assessment? How do they use the information that they have available to them from maybe documents that have been collected in an initial round to inform drafting of an ESI protocol. So it's that training and adoption and education. I think that's something we're constantly doing with our attorneys and then getting feedback from them that we circle back to Nuix with, but training and adoption from Nuix to us, so that my team, my Legal Mind team is current and up to date and aware of what we can do. And so you guys know, or Nuix knows how we're using the platform and can help us in maybe developing new functionality or refining functionality as well. One of the other things that I think is a challenge sometimes, and I was I've been glad to see what David was sharing in terms of looking at things like the ability to be able to add notes and comment on notes and get a notification. Collaboration is such a big thing since we've endured the pandemic, that I think how can we build in more collaboration within the Nuix platform so that rather than printing a bunch of documents to PDF to email to the partner to take a look at, the partner can easily get a notification, see comments, or help to resolve, a question on, is this really key or is this really privilege? How can we enhance our quality control process for a document review using some of the collaboration functionality within the platform? So I think some items there that we're thinking about in terms of challenges. And then in terms of looking to the future, next slide, please. I think our big focus is really how do we continue to leverage AI tools. We, as I said, are really excited about the NLP integration. I think it has huge implications. We're already using some NLP functionality in one of our legal research platforms, and we've seen great value in it. And so, being able to take or create a natural language query to search a legal research platform to find cases supporting a theory. Think about the implications that has for search, for helping attorneys find documents that are critical to a particular theory of the case. We've already talked about, how we can use it for privilege identification, which is something that's near and dear to our heart. The whole data privacy aspect of it, in terms of helping to identify PII and PHI. The ability, I think this is probably more true on the corporate side, but even for us on the law firm side, where we're consistently working with particular clients to be able to use or to build a library of potentially privileged terms or content or what have you, to help us more easily identify privileged documents and avoid that inadvertent privilege production is really, really valuable. I've also been playing with some chat GPT software, and was able to, for example, ask the chat GPT platform to craft for me a poem about e-discovery and document review, which did a little haiku, which was pretty decent actually. But think of how implementing something or integrating something like that into a platform like this and being able to point it to a set of documents for a witness kit, and be able to say, create me a timeline of events, like I was able to actually to do in this chat GPT platform I was playing with. Again, think of the time savings, some of the value that's involved in that. I think that's really, really exciting, and there's a lot of potential there. Looking at things like, as we look to the future, also, document review, I think, that's where Legal Mind, as I told you, really grew from, the cost of doing document review. And I think another document review pain point that is not as well addressed as first pass document review is around privilege logs. And so, being able to leverage functionality like the names normalization is huge and will be huge. And being able to leverage NLP to help us with privilege flagging and what have you will be great. But the more we can do to drive down those costs of privilege log reviews and privilege calls, really, and help to facilitate that process, I think there's real value, not just on the law firm side, but I think that for clients, it's also a pain point. And then in my dream world, and I think this is not unrealistic, is looking at the ability to handle contract analysis. Can we use some of these AI tools that are out there or that are developing to be able to put a bunch of contracts for an M&A deal into the Discover platform and ask a question? Does this contract or which contracts automatically renew? And if they do automatically renew, where's the language that indicates that? That would allow us to, essentially drop a platform and be able to focus our energies more on this platform. I think there's real value in that in terms of our investment in technology. And one of the things that we've talked about, and I think will continue to be something that we're all looking at, is the increased need for automation, the increased ability to refine existing automation. So, you were talking about receiving automation or notifications from the RFP, or RPF, sorry. I always do that. And that we did some analysis of the requests that come into our department for 2022 and learned that requests come in every single day of the week, Monday through Sunday, and they come in at every hour of the day, except we've never received a request at 4 a.m. in the morning. And the majority of those, or something like 60% of the requests that we get are related to processing ESI into the Nuix platform. And so the more automation we can build around that to make us efficient, to make us or help us get things pushed through as quickly as possible and as efficiently as possible, is only a win, and if you ask me. And then I guess the last thing I made a note of is that, Stephen was talking about the Nuix data privacy solution. And in fact, I had a call on Monday with the team about that solution. And as I mentioned, I sit on our firm's cybersecurity committee. So how can we leverage tools like that beyond just providing legal services, but managing our own legal environment and managing or leveraging our investment? So I've kind of thrown a lot out there. I hope that I passed on at least some nugget that you would find of interest or you might find helpful. And I would welcome any questions, but certainly if you have suggestions or ideas for me, I would love to hear from you as well.